Hi guys, it's Michelle here from Robin's Hobby Cafe. So I am going to be doing a little bit more wire wrap jewellery, following on from our easy wrap ring that we done earlier. I'm going to be wrapping a little bit of seaglass just with a basic wrap. So once again we're going to be using a little bit of 0.8 millimeter wire, and we want to cut this in equal lengths. Doesn't have to be too precise. Let's see. Yeah, that's about enough. So make that about 16. Okay, so these are roughly the same length. Just going to straighten these out a little bit. So these are our 0.8 millimeter, and we're going to be using a little bit of 0.2 millimeter, and we're just going to use a bit of this to actually bind them together. So the 8 millimeter, 0.8 millimeter is quite bendy, but it isn't quite as flexible as the 0.2, whereas you can actually wrap this just like thread. It's fantastic. Whereas you couldn't really do it with the 0.8 millimeter, it would just be very bunchy. I just want to start at the edge. We'll have a little bit sticking out there, and we can use our pliers at the end just to actually push that in. So we want to keep this wrap as close together as possible and try and keep the wires as flat as we possibly can. So I'm just stopping here every few wraps just to make sure they're all kind of equal and press them up against each other. This is quite smooth. You can see this 0.2 millimeter wire just turns really lovely. It just looks like one thick piece of silver. So this is going to be our base just to bind it together. So maybe a wee bit bigger than we need. So I'm just going to wrap this last wee bit around here and then trim it. I'm just going to use our little cutters just to bring it up and get in as close as possible. Push it down a little bit. We still have a little rough edge there, so I'm just going to press that down there with flat pliers. There we go. And we also have a little bit here, so I'm going to just cut that off. So just face it down towards the table when you're cutting it, and that way, in theory, it shouldn't bounce everywhere. It still does sometimes. Okay, so we now have, if I can bring this up and show you a wee bit closer. So this is bound all three of those together. It's quite a nice, neat rejoin. So we just want to divide these strands out. So we're going to have two coming up here. So this seaglass is a wee bit wide, so yeah, that's probably okay. Probably get away with having it a little bit smaller, but it's fine. So we just stretch these bits out too. So we're aiming for something like that. So this is quite a flat edge. And we just want to, I'm going to use the flat edge here. Just to lay it down beside it. That actually fits in quite nice. Sometimes you just get really strange pieces and they don't have flat edges. That's fine. You can just sort of mold the metal around it. So we just want to use a wee bit of pressure with our fingertips just to bring this up here and press it against the glass. Okay. And then this is a tricky bit, so we want to bring it up around the edge of the seaglass, and this isn't the thickest, so it could be quite tricky. Again, just using pressure in your fingertips. Just bring it up around, just try and keep it all together. So we have these bits bunched up with the wire just around the outside, and this bit there, but it's obviously not secure because if I do this it'll just tip out. So I want to bring these last two strands just up, just to secure them in. So I'll bring these up like this. Okay, so that secures that in there nicely. And we have these just all stuck up like that. So that's fine, we'll leave that there for the minute. And I want to take some more of our 0.2mm wire. Let me take a bit of a length. Okay. So I want to leave a little tail just here, and I'm going to start dropping this around like this, just as close to the base of the glass as possible. So we want to get this in as tight, and sometimes it kind of drifts up there a little bit, so we can use our pliers to bring that down a little bit if we need to anyway. And again, we just want to keep this quite neat and quite flush with the wire. And just again, just pushing this down. I'll bring this down as far as you can, so I'm just going to use my pliers to pull it down a little bit. That's it nice and tight, and just keep wrapping. These strands, I am just going to bend them over. So I've put a wee kink there, so I'm just going to unravel this a little bit. So that's what happens if you just or go a little bit too wide and then bunch them up. So just try and keep them in quite tight. And just every few, just stop and push them up. Pushing them up. So that's actually left a little kink in the metal there, but that's fine. I don't mind that. So I'm just going to twist this last little bit around the fingers here, just to get it in quite close. And we're left with a little rough edge here, so I'm just going to use my get my cut this one off first of all. And just use my flat pliers to push this down. Okay, so we have this with a little tail. Our stone is secure in here now. So what we want to do is just bend this round. And you see with this now wrapped around, this has really secured this piece of metal, so this has made it really, really hard. I'm just going to put this in here like this. We now have a nice little loop that we can actually put a chain or leather or something through this. So, and we're also left with this little tail. So we're going to wrap this round just to secure this, but I don't want to leave these like this. So I'm just going to bring these up and snip them off. So you could do something quite decorative with this. In fact, I think I might leave one and so on this one. So I'll leave this one and I'm going to cut the rest off. So I'll cut these up right as close to the base as possible. Okay, 1, 2. See when you point them down the spring. Okay, so there like that. I'm going to leave this little one here. So just want to bring these little rough bits in because I'm going to cover these with a little bit of wire. But you can actually leave them, you can leave them a bit longer and you can wrap them around the edges like this. I just want to cut these off here, just do a basic one, and then I'm going to wrap this little tail just around the base here. This joins these up, but it also covers these little loose rough wires. Just make sure they're all covered up. Okay. Just have a little bit here. So I'm just going to use my pliers to bring that in. That's quite smooth now. Yeah, happy with that. So I still have this little tail here. So what I can do with this is I can just turn that round. So I could actually put a little, and I think I might, put a little bead in it. But first, I just want to make sure the wire is sitting quite flush around the rest of the seaglass. Just want to make sure it's right at the edges. And you can use your pliers just to bring this up, make sure it's all okay. So I'm going to use these little pliers here just to bring these bits in. And that little flat bit there is coming up to the flat edge, so there's a gap, so I just want to bring this up a bit too. That's it, perfect. Okay, and at the minute this little stone is going nowhere, so you can see we've secured that right in. We have this wire just running around the outside edge, so I'm just going to use this little tail. I'll bring this out again. I just want to flatten this out to put a little bead on it. Oops. I twisted at the end of that, but I shouldn't really have done at the beginning. And yeah, actually made the end of that there a bit too. Need to flatten that out a bit. So use my strip that out, put our bead on, and then we'll redo it. There we go. So just want to push this little edge of the metal down and secure the bead on without nipping your fingers. That was a good thing. And just flatten this little sharp edge down. Okay. And then we can just curl this up. This little curly bit really serves no purpose apart from just looking quite decorative there with that little end. You can cut all of those off. You can make them a little bit longer. So you can actually crisscross them across here. But basically that is your basic wrap, and that actually secures your stone with the wire. So you can thread your chain in there and have a pretty little pendant, and that should stay in place for you. Okay guys, I hope you find this video useful, and thanks for watching.